Hey, what's up everyone? My name's Chris Winter and today I'm going to do an in-depth comparison between the Canon 70D and the brand new Canon T6s. Now both of these cameras have some really great new technologies, specifically Dual Pixel Autofocus for the Canon 70D and Hybrid Autofocus for the Canon T6s. And both of them are targeted to that kind of semi-pro level. So what I want to do today is test them out so you can figure out which one is best for you. Now I'd just like to say a big thanks to Brenton over at Shutter Hub for letting me rent out the Canon T6s for this test. And if you guys didn't know already, I'm actually going to be giving away either a Canon T6i or a T6s to a subscriber, so if you haven't done it yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button to enter into the draw, and you never know, you might end up winning a brand new camera. Anyway, let's compare these two cameras and see which one is the best for you. To start off with, let's take a look at the build quality of these two cameras. Now the first thing that you're going to notice is that there is quite a size difference between the 70D and the T6s. Now not only is the Canon 70D taller and wider, it's also quite a lot heavier, coming in at 775 grams compared to the T6s, which comes in at 565 grams. Now which is better? Well, you know, it comes down to personal preference, I think. If you're doing any kind of traveling or shooting for an extended period of time, having that smaller and lighter body is definitely going to come in handy. Now on the other hand, if you are going to be using a heavy lens like the Canon 70-200, you're definitely going to appreciate the weight of the Canon 70D because it is going to mean that it's going to be a little bit better balanced and you're not going to have a front heavy camera. The Canon 70D does have a larger viewfinder with 98% coverage compared to the T6s's 95%, and you can kind of notice that. But other than that, everything on the Canon 70D does feel a whole lot sturdier. It just feels like it could take a little bit more punishment. If you're going to be going into a professional environment, this could be the camera for you. So in terms of absolute build quality, unless you're going to be traveling and you really want a light camera, I'd probably go for the Canon 70D. Hey guys, if you haven't seen it yet, make sure to check out my top 10 list of the best lenses for the brand new Canon T6s. I go into quite a lot of detail in it, explaining which lens would be good for you and why. So I'll leave a link in the description box below. Go check it out and tell me which lens out of that top 10 you'd like best. Anyway, let's get on to the next part of the video. Let's now take a quick look at the menus on both of these cameras. Now the menus on both of these systems are actually really quite similar. Now they both don't go into that crazy amount of options that you get with the 5D and the 7D, but you can still pretty much change everything that you need to do. Now the T6s is still a little bit more basic, with the 70D having a few more options like allowing you to change your micro adjust your focus and your exposure settings. But for a beginner, I think that the T6s's menus are pretty much on point. Hey guys, as always, if you're enjoying this video, I'd love it if you leave a thumbs up because that's always appreciated. Anyway, let's get on to the next part of the video. Now, I use the Canon 70D for pretty much all of the videos I make here on YouTube, and one of my favorite features about it is this beautiful touchscreen on the back of the camera here. Now, both of these cameras have very nice touchscreens, which allow you to get a live view of what you're going to take a photo of. They also allow you to change settings on the fly and even select what you want to be in focus. From what I can tell, they're pretty much using the exact same screen. Both of them have around 1 million dots, and they both have a very, very clear image. Another of the great features that both of these cameras have is that you don't have to press too hard down on the back of the screen to select exactly what you want to be in focus. It's just a light tap and whatever you press should come into focus. So in terms of the LCD screens, I'd probably say it's a tie. Now one of the big new features of this T6s and something that sets it apart from the T6i is the inclusion of this new top info screen. Now this is something that's normally included in professional bodies, and it was something that I wasn't expecting to see on a Rebel camera anytime soon, and it's definitely nice to see. Now as you can tell, there is actually quite a size difference in terms of the LCDs on the top of these bodies. For obvious reasons, the 70D is a bigger camera and the T6s is smaller. But even though it is a smaller screen on top of your body, you're really not missing out on that much info. Both screens show your exposure, your ISO, your aperture, shutter speed, battery life and Wi-Fi status, pretty much all that good stuff, whereas the 70D also includes what focus mode you're in as well. Let's now do something a little bit different and talk about the autofocus speed for stills on both of these cameras. So another of the big new changes to the T6s was that upgrade from 9 autofocus points to 19 autofocus points, which are all cross-type. This now brings it up to the same amount as the Canon 70D. Not only that, the T6s also now gets the same phase detection system as the 70D had, which means we should get some increased performance with that as well. So let's now test out that autofocus. We'll start off with the Canon T6s. I've got an 18-55 kit lens on here. It is an STM lens, which means it should be autofocusing pretty quietly and pretty fastly. And I've got a few vintage cameras right here which I'll autofocus on. Listen out for that confirmation beep and see just how quick it is. So as you can hear, there's almost no sound, and it's pretty quick jumping from camera to camera. In fact, it's very quick. Got to say, I've been very impressed over my testing period with the T6s. Its autofocus is greatly improved, and that 19-point autofocus is very, very good. What I'll do now is jump over to the Canon 70D and we'll see how that goes. So I've now got the Canon 70D here and we'll test out its autofocus. I've got the 18 to 135 lens on. It's very similar to the 18 to 55 lens, just got a little bit more length. So again, we'll listen out for that confirmation beep. There's really no difference to the T6s. They're both very, very fast, no hunting, and it seems to be hitting the target pretty much every time. Well, there you go. It seems to me that the T6s has greatly improved. The Canon 70D has also always been a pretty fast autofocusing lens, especially for just that semi-pro level, but I'm gonna have to give that one a tie. Now, one of the big factors for me when considering a camera is battery life, and this is where the Canon 70D absolutely triumphs over the Canon T6s. Now, the 70D is using the professional level LPE6 batteries, which honestly, they last forever. If you've ever used, say, a 5D, a 7D, a 60D, you'll probably have a few of these lying around. On the other hand, the Canon T6s is using a new LPE17 battery, which is even smaller than the old LPE8 batteries. And unfortunately, although they're not that bad, they don't last that long, and the LPE6 batteries last forever. So the winner in terms of battery life is the Canon 70D. Let's quickly talk about the button placement on these two cameras. Now, as you can see on the Canon 70D, it's got a lot more buttons on its body with autofocus, metering, drive settings, all ready to use. Now, for a lot of beginners, you're not really going to be using these buttons anyway, so the T6s's basic buttons are actually quite a good option. But one button that I really do like on the Canon 70D is this back button autofocus. I use it all the time and the T6s doesn't have it. I know that you can kind of set one up with another button, but just having that dedicated button is a really nice feature on the Canon 70D. Now let's talk about the video capabilities of these two cameras, starting off with autofocus. Now, both of these cameras have fantastic autofocus systems, with the Canon 70D having its Dual Pixel Autofocus, which it introduced a few years ago, and the Canon T6s having its new hybrid autofocusing system. Now, it was such an important thing for me to compare that I actually made an 8-minute video on it, comparing all the different autofocus functions and really finding out which one was better. So if you want to watch that video, click the link right here and that'll take you there. But long story short, the Canon 70D has a little bit better autofocus still, especially with face tracking, but the Canon T6s has really, really improved, especially over the T5i. So they're both really good at autofocus, but the Canon 70D is still the king. Now, over the last few weeks, there's actually been quite a lot of discussion about the Canon T6s and its video quality, specifically a downgrade of the bitrate. To be totally honest, guys, I haven't noticed any decrease in the video quality on the T6s. In fact, I've been very impressed with it. Now, there is a light setting which uses a lower bitrate, but if you use the highest quality setting, I've found the footage to be great. And one of the cool new features that the T6s has that the 70D doesn't have is an HDR setting, which I've been testing out a little bit, and from what I've tested, it seems to be working really quite well. Not only that, the T6s also performed very well in low light when I tested it out the other night in HDR mode. Now, if you want to see that video, I'll put a link right here and you can check it out. It goes for around 2 minutes and you can pretty much see that it does work very, very well in low light. So to finish off, let's take a look at a few different image samples. And to be fair, guys, there's going to be a lot of people on the internet who do this a lot better than me, a lot more scientifically. But as you can see, both of these cameras produce really nice images. The new 24.2 megapixel sensor in the Canon T6s is very, very nice. Kind of up there with the Canon 70D. And it really does depend on what lens you put in front of your body. I mean, the lens is the most important thing. But they can both produce some really nice shots, even in low light, although I would probably say that in low light, the Canon 70D is a little bit better. So there you go, guys. That was my in-depth comparison between the Canon 70D and the T6s. So I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up because that's always appreciated. And if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure to check out my top 10 list of the best lenses for the Canon T6s. I'll leave a link in the description box below. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. Stay safe, stay happy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.